Okay, so when it comes to criminal law in general, like on the meaning behind it, criminal law is basically a set of laws from the legislators of Washington. And then they put all those laws like into like the revised code of Washington, which is like RCWs. So when it comes to like things in society, like in Washington, like to, to determine if some sort of something is a crime or not, if it's not in the RCWs, it's not a crime pretty much. That's kind of what it is. Like the RCW is the foundation of what's legal, like what's illegal, could get you like prosecuted and arrested and in trouble and stuff like that. So like criminal law itself is just a set of laws from the state government, like legislators, like the big guys. But anyways, and then when we talk about like criminal, like a crime itself, there's factors to it. Like there's like things that like help like the courts for themselves, like or like officers or whatever to like determine if a crime was committed or not. So one of the biggest things is like it's called actus rea, which is the criminal act. That's like the main thing, right? Like that's when someone's actually committing the crime, like they're taking action and doing something, like such as like robbing a bank or killing someone in the head, like stuff like that. And then you have mens rea, which is like your mental state, like what's going on in your head to see if you had like intent to actually kill that person or rob that person. Like mens rea can be tricky. Like for me, it's kind of confusing in a way. Um, like, because in some situations, when it comes to like your mental state, sometimes you're not thinking right, and you'll like do something bad, and then like it just for me it's kind of confusing, but like the main concept of mens rea is like what's going on in your head before committing that crime, before actus rea. So I feel like theoretically, like mens rea comes before actus rea, because before you commit the act, there's something going on in your head. Like most of the time, sometimes it's not. You just go crazy and just do something out of the blue. But in most situations, there's something going on in your head, your mens rea. And then you have the concurrence. Concurrence can also be tricky too. Concurrence is basically like actus rea and mens rea when it's happening at the same time. That's like when it's happening at the same time, that's how you know it's an actual crime. You know, like an example like would be if someone like has the intent to kill someone and then they go kill that person, then that's like actus rea and mens rea like happening at the same time where it causes like concurrence. And then harm is like mainly like for the victim, like what happened to the victims, like injuries or even death. So and then like in the RCWs, right? We have homicide. Homicide is in the RCWs. I forgot the actual code, but like you have homicide is like a big thing like everywhere, right? And like when it comes to homicides, there's like different type of homicides itself. You have murder the first, murder the second, manslaughter the first, manslaughter the second, and they all have like thing with all those, they all have different mens rea like things, like factors, because like with all those different type of homicides, thinking behind those situations is different. Like for murder first, your mens rea is like you have the actual intent to kill the person, like Like, you just straight up, like, it's like telling someone in their face, like, I'm gonna kill you. Like, I wanna kill you, and then you kill them, you know? It was premeditated, if that's how you say it. It was planned. You know, when we had Dudley and Stevens, right? They wanted to kill someone. They planned it, you know? They're like, someone's gonna fucking die. Like, we're starving, someone's gonna die. And it was like that cabin boy, the victim, you know, they wanted to kill him. That's the mens rea, right? And then for murder the second is basically like something happening out of the blue. Like, something wasn't planned, it just kind of happened. Like McHenry today earlier was saying that if he walks in on his spouse cheating and then he pulls out his like gun or something and shoots him, right? There was no like he didn't have like full intent in the first place before he did it. He just overreacted, you know? He overreacted, and like he just shot him because he was like shocked, and like he was like, what the heck? You know, like, it wasn't premeditated, it wasn't planned, like, you know, hours or days, like, you know, like, I'm gonna kill this person. Or he never even said to the people, like, I'm gonna kill you guys. He just went straight up and did it because of, you know, he was just shocked. So that kind of goes into like murder the second. Now when we have manslaughter, manslaughter the first is basically like it revolves a lot of recklessness stuff going on. You know, like example of recklessness, it would have to be like, oh, I'm so tired. What the hell? It's like, you know, like, cause I get mixed up with the manslaughter second when it revolves criminal negligence, which is like another like factor when it comes to mens rea. It's like how what's going on in your mind. It's really similar, but it's different at the same time. Oh wait, hold on. Okay, recklessness is like you're just being dumb. Okay, it's like you're taking a risk. You're taking a really bad risk, and someone's life could be in danger by doing this thing. You know, like, say like you're with your friends and you're showing them a gun, right? And you know it's loaded. Like, you're aware of it, that it's loaded. And then you guys like, you know, like pointing at each other and trying to like just be funny and stuff like that, right? Then you accidentally let the gun like shoot, like you let it fire, and you knew, like, you know, it was loaded. So you're just being stupid, and you're being reckless, like, and then your friend gets shot and dies. That's like that's reckless. And then when it comes to manslaughter the second, criminal negligence is a big factor. As I said before, when it comes to like mens rea, it's like you genuinely did a mistake. In the most part, you did a mistake. Like when we talk about the example I just gave with like the recklessness, like he knew it was loaded and stuff. When it comes to criminal negligence, making a mistake, let's say he didn't know it was loaded. Like say he already took the mag out, and there was probably, you know, a bullet in the chamber that he didn't know about, and then he let it off, and when it shot, it killed his friend, and his friend died, and then he's probably like, what the fuck? Like, you know, I didn't know there was any bullets in here. I took out the bullets. So it was like a genuine mistake, because he thought that if he pulls the trigger, nothing's gonna happen, right? Because he remembers emptying the firearm, right? So that kind of like criminal negligence, it's just like it's like a big factor of like making a mistake leading on to, someone's death. So it's like recklessness is just being like a dumbass. Like you don't like you're just careless. Like you have no sense, right? You're just doing stuff knowing that it could be bad, like knowing that it can actually be bad, and you're still doing it, and then the results, they're pretty shitty. People die. Then negligence is like, you're just making an honest mistake. And when it comes to the other big example, property offense, actus rea, mens rea, and harm, like those key things, they still apply to like property offenses and theft and stuff like that. So the actus rea, is like the act, like actually, you know, stealing someone's property, like money or, like valuable stuff like jewelry, shoes, designer, like stuff like that. And then you have the act, no, not the, you have the mindset, that the mens rea, like if he had like intent to actually, go and steal that certain thing, like like let's say for an example, right? You're spying on this person. He's like a business owner, right? And let's say he's your neighbor, right? I'm just coming up with like just random examples. Let's say he's your neighbor, okay? Um, you're opening your window and you're looking through his window, and you're seeing like let's say like you're seeing all kinds of jewelry in his room, okay? You're seeing all this crazy jewelry, and then you plan out like how do you take it, like you plan out how do you take it, and that you want to take it in the first place, because that's where the intent comes from. You actually want to do it. So the next day he's out of town or something, and then you go to his house, you break in, right? You go inside, you go to his room, and you steal all his jewelry. And then that's where harm comes in. That's like the result of what, like, property was stole of 100 G's, $100,000 in jewelry was stolen. So those three big factors is pretty much what the system determines that a crime was committed, which was theft, burglary, because they broke into his house. But yeah. Okay, now I'm gonna give like 2 examples of like determining if like the person was actually doing like a criminal act or not. Like this is like pretty much like what the judges look for in order to actually have like a realization that they should be convicted of the crime. But I don't know if that makes sense, but I'll get to like one example. So like let's say for like stealing, right? Say say I'm walking down the street, and I see a bike, and like let's say my friend lost his bike, right? Or his bike got stolen. And then I'm like, oh, like that looks like my friend's bike. Like I'll go get it, give it back to him, right? And then let's say out of nowhere it was the wrong bike, you know. And then the guy that I supposedly stole the bike from, he tries to sue me and stuff like that, press charges on me, I would say. And then the things that the judges look for to see if I'm actually like a criminal, if I actually committed the crime, would be the act is there, but the biggest thing is to see if I'm actually guilty or not of it, which relates to my mens rea, to actually see if my main intent was to steal that bike, like for myself, or like, whatever. But my only intent was to give it back to my friend, because that looked identical to the bike that was stolen from him. Like, it looked like the same bike, so I just took it and tried to give it back to him because that bike got stolen from him. That's what I thought, right? So I didn't have like the guilty mindset, you know, and that's like a thing that kind of like makes a crime, is like, especially like when it comes to having intent, is to see if you have like a guilty mindset or not, if that makes sense, you know, like you already know what you're doing is like you want to do it, you know it's a crime and you're doing it, right? There's stuff like that. And then another example, when it comes to homicide, right? Let's say like this will go towards like saying that I don't have like the guilty mind, like I'm still innocent in a way. Let's say there's an active shooter and everyone is just going crazy, kids are dying, people are dying. Let's say like we're in Las Vegas somewhere, right? Like even recently, like a few years ago, like a lot of years ago, there was like a big like shooting that happened over there. Let's like let's try to put ourselves in that, like that whole situation, right? Say if me, the big hero, right? I saw the threat to like the whole society over there, and then I grab out my gun and then I shoot and kill him, right? And then his family or whatever tries to press charges and get me in jail, locked up. And then the judges, when they look at the situation, they're gonna see that the act was there, obviously. I killed a man. And then now they want to see the mental state, the mens rea. So if the mens rea is not in check, then you don't really get like the concurrence, because the concurrence, as I said before, is mainly combined with actus and mens rea, like pre-admitted intent. Like when those things are like lined up with each other, then you got the concurrence. That's the concurrence. That's like the basis of like it was an actual crime. And then, it's reasonable to actually convict that person. But in the situation right now, I would defend that it was in self-defense of my surrounding, of like the community in that area, right? So when they hear all the stuff that I'm like saying, and they see the whole situation in general, they're gonna see like, this guy he didn't have like the guilty mindset, like everything was just, he did it out of self-defense and he had no actual intent of like, just killing him just to kill him, like he killed him of self-defense of others, right? So that doesn't really go into like full on like murder in the first degree, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's kind of confusing the way I say it, but like I really hope you understand what I'm trying to say. But if we like take a whole recap of everything that I've been talking about for like the last 19 minutes, basically criminal law is a set of laws by Washington legislators, right? And they're all formed into the revised codes, right? You got like the big homicide one, and then you got like the big like the stealing one. What's it called? Hold on. Property offense. Then you got property offense. So there's like big two things that are like formed in the RCWs, and like, there's all types of homicides, as I was talking about, and in the RCWs it talks about like what it is and stuff like that, right? Like the RCWs is the foundation of the legal system, pretty much, like determining what's legal and what's not in the state. And then what really makes a crime, right? So actus rea, mens rea, concurrence, causation for the most part, and then harm. Okay, harm is pretty much like the result, and then like the first three, really the first three is like everything that actually happened to really determine if it was a crime or not. The actus rea is doing the act, mens rea, what's going on in your head, do you have a guilty mind or not, and then causation is like when intent is there mixed with the act, that just proves you that you're just guilty, if that makes sense. And then we talked about examples. I even talked about different type of homicides and examples of that. There's also like never mind. There's manslaughter 1 and 2, murder in 1 and 2, and then I forgot what it's called, but there's another separate one when you kill a law enforcement officer. I just can't remember what it's called. We literally just talked about this like back in class, but I can't remember. But anyways, pretty much like I give examples on that, and then I give examples on like situations when it comes to property offense and homicides and stuff like that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, and then how judges look at everything, like if you like take an incident, and how the judges pretty much determine whether it was or wasn't a crime. So I feel like I explained that. But yeah, that's pretty much it for pretty much like what criminal law is, and pretty much what the elements of a crime itself it is. Like, what's a crime? What are the factors, right? And then the two codes from the RCWs, and kind of like explaining those a little bit.